This special episode of A Pickle Home Companion is brought to you by...
Hello, listeners of A Pickle Home Companion. This is former guest Caleb Jackson, also director of the documentary film Squad 50 is Here to Stay. We are doing an event in Savannah, Georgia on May 23rd, and we're going to show the movie, and then Squad 50 is literally playing, and this proves that they are actually here to stay. It was not just a clever title. The Pickle Guys, 3 of 4 pickles, will be there. This was one of the first things that, whenever I announced the show, all the guys bought Blu-rays and bought tickets, like pretty soon after I announced the show. This was such a kind thing that I felt. This just proves that, you can have parasocial relationships and they become real, just like the hosts of the show you're listening to right now. Furnace Fest brings people together. It's a beautiful scene that we're a part of. So I hope you can join us. If you come, please come find me and I will give you a personalized movie recommendation based on the short conversation we've just had. It is, some would say, my spiritual gift. Most would not say that, though. Anyways, I hope you have fun listening to the rest of this episode. Please join us in Savannah on May 23rd. There's also going to be Blu-rays that you can pre-order right now, and you can watch it on Vimeo. So if you want to do that, you can go find that stuff at my Instagram, which is at John Caleb Jackson, or at Squad50_official. Enjoy your day.
Well, it's been a quiet weekend in Lake Scabagon, my hometown. In this week's episode, Jared and Kevin are joined by the guest squid Adam from the band Wantlands. They spend time chatting with professional podcaster and cowbell player, the one and only Dana fucking D. They talk natural disasters, recall when Kevin and Dana first met, commiserate over podcast editing, and talk about his new project, the Live Free or D.I.Y podcast.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, not much. It's been a day.
It has. Mine hasn't been bad, just busy.
Yeah, mine was, for the most part, it was fine. It was just, same, busy, short-staffed, and then I had one guy, phone rings. I get greeted with, "Who the fuck are you?" I'm like, "What's your fucking name?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm Kevin." He goes, "What the fuck do you do?" Apparently get abused.
Right.
I was like, "Can I help you?" And he's like, "I'm looking for Melissa." And I was like, "There's no Melissa in this department. Like, who?" He's like, "Well, what the fuck good are you?" Like,
Wow.
yeah. And so I figured out who it was a lot more back and forth. And I'm like, "Well, is it something I can help you with?" You know, and just wouldn't tell me who he was, what he wanted, just really wanted to talk to Melissa. And so I said, "Okay, well, hold on." So I go to transfer the call, and when we transfer, they don't automatically transfer, so like I can talk to who I'm sending it to.
Right.
So Melissa answers, and I'm like, "Hey, I have this guy on the phone. I don't know who he is. I don't know what he wants, but he's not happy, and he's got a mouth on him. So just
Right.
figured I'd give you a heads up. Have fun." And then I just transferred
Nice.
it. So
Wild.
yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah.
Here's Adam, by the way. He's coming in.
All right.
Hey, Adam.
Hey, what's up?
Hey,
Oh, here's Dana.
What's up, boys?
hey.
How's it going?
Dude, pretty good. Sorry for the delay there.
Oh, you're good, man.
How you guys doing?
Doing all right.
Dude, this is cool. I like your backgrounds.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you got a
There's
lot
a lot
going on
going
there
on.
in yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got stuff and things.
Yeah.
Stuff and things are very important.
I'm gonna crack a cold one.
Adam, why didn't you bring your beard?
Oh yeah.
Like,
Yeah, bro.
there's
Mm,
rules here. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, you get the
I
stash.
know. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fine.
The New England beards are strong though. Look at you two.
Well, it
Oh
all
yeah.
migrated from my head, you know.
Yeah. Mine's getting there, so.
What'd you open up? What are you drinking?
I got a Miller
Hey,
Classic.
what's
Classic.
in your I've seen your fancy mug there, Adam. What are you drinking in your cup?
Oh, it's a black lager from Blackbird Brewing in Wake Forest, North Carolina.
How about that?
In my Big Boss mug. Nah, there we go.
I saw the big boss on it.
Yeah,
Cool.
I think if I were to pick favorite beer all time, and I recently decided this, I think Guinness is the perfect beer.
it is good.
It's perfect.
Yeah,
Mm.
because it's
Creamy,
like calorie wise and
healthy.
everything, it's a light beer.
It tastes like too, to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's super easy to drink, and it's like 5.5%.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
perfect.
It's got antioxidants,
it
cancer
does.
fighting qualities, all that good stuff.
Puts hair on your chest.
And
Yeah.
that, yes,
I don't know.
always important.
You heading out? You said, is that tomorrow?
Yeah, dude. I just got like an email from JetBlue saying like a weather advisory, like your flight might get canceled or something. I don't know.
We've got a storm. We were talking about that earlier. There's some storm coming through North Carolina. Is it coming up there too?
Oh yeah. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And the reason I was late, I'm gonna throw my tour manager under the bus here, but he called me up
Well, you can say
because
timeout if you need to.
Yeah.
timeout.
Yeah, that's our code for we're not going to include this timeout. And
No,
you say
no, you
whatever you
can
want.
include it. You can include it. But yeah, dude, like he called me. So I'm flying to Nashville and I'm driving a box truck and helping with merch on this Poppy tour. The first show is Tuesday in San Francisco. So I have to drive
Whoa.
2,300 miles from
Ooh.
Friday afternoon, early evening to San Francisco and have to be there by like 10 a.m. for loading Tuesday, which is like gnarly, dude. That's a gnarly haul.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
That
You
is
could run into some weather between like this
well,
time of year.
that was why he called me. He's like, "You've been watching
Yeah.
the weather?" And I thought he was talking about my flight. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, my flight. I might have to like change my flight or something, but I'm gonna roll with it." He's like, "No, dude, there's like tornadoes and shit." And I was like, "What? What are you talking about? Tornado? I'm from Boston, dude. We don't get tornadoes up here. You know what I mean? I've never seen a tornado in person. Maybe I will
Yeah.
over the next week.
Dang.
But I don't know. Hopefully I'll dodge it. But like, I'll be driving like through like Oklahoma, Texas, like
Mhm.
whatever.
hmm I've seen actually seen a tornado while driving like the funnel cloud touch down one time, and it's terrifying. Like I lived
Yeah.
in Missouri, in like outside of Kansas City. I
Wow.
was in high school, and my brother and I were in the car, like going to work we worked at a Mexican restaurant in the mall, and we were going to work, and like off in the distance, saw the funnel cloud, and it like touched down, and we were kind of like, whoa, and like we're teenagers, so we don't have the sense to like get off the road. This is a bad time to be driving. We were just like, whoa, and pointing, and like, do you see that? But it's wild to see in person.
That's the scariest thing to me, like
Hmm
weather-wise, like if you look just like visually, just
Yeah.
looking at that cone, it's like, dude,
Yeah.
like I don't want to go anywhere near that thing. Like those storm chasers are out of their fucking minds. Those
Oh,
people,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
it's like crazy. I feel like I live, or we, Kevin, you and
Yep.
I feel like we live maybe in the best spot like in the world as far as not well. I hope you don't mind this rabbit hole here, but like natural disasters, bro. I think about this every time I'm in like California or on the West Coast. There's that
Yeah.
continental divide right there, and at any moment, those things can shift. And I mean, what was that earthquake like? The World Series in
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Oakland, San
Yep.
Francisco. You guys know this story? How crazy is that? That like those two teams, Oakland and San Francisco, I think they were playing at Oakland, whatever, same spot.
Yep.
What are the odds that those two teams are playing each other in the World Series and like that insane earthquake happens and like the bridges, like one of those
There's the
bridges
Bay
like
Bridge.
fell
Yeah.
on another bridge and like
Right.
Yep.
crushed these people and I've watched I don't know. I like watch documentaries on it and stuff, but you have that, or you have like tsunamis or hurricanes or tornadoes. Up here we just get snow. It's
Yep.
Yeah.
like people freak out. They're like, "Oh, I gotta go like buy all the milk and bread," which is like, "Oh, because there's snow up to your shin."
Right.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
But I mean, we actually had a little earthquake here recently, right, Kevin? It was
Yeah.
like a month
Yep.
ago.
Did you?
It's like a 4 or 5 on the Richter,
Yep.
Uh,
something like
wasn't
that.
there
I don't
one of
know.
those in like Vancouver yesterday? I just saw, like, I think on Instagram somebody was up there posted about it.
I don't
Which I don't
know.
think of that as a place. I don't know. Maybe they do get earthquakes all the time. I have no idea. I've never
Yeah,
been to
Vancouver.
Vancouver.
That's like
It's out there though in the west. Yeah.
Pacific Northwest, basically.
Yeah.
That's in that spot, dude. Those, and the fires. Although we did get fire. You're on the Cape, right, Kevin?
I'm on the Cape. Yeah.
Sandwich, dude. Is that right?
Yeah. I work in Sandwich. I live in Yarmouth.
Sandwich. Yeah.
Wow.
Real town.
Yep.
I worked at the when I worked for Panera Bread. I would go down to Mashpee sometimes.
Oh yeah, down in the Commons. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. But I don't know, man. What were we talking about? Oh, the fires. We had some fires up here. Like where I live in Lynn, we have like acres and acres of like hundreds of acres of we call it Lynn Woods. And shit just started burning down like,
Mhm.
over what I want to say like October, November. Like when I got back, well, I went from Furnace Fest straight to like the West Coast for some piebald stuff and like when we were young and best friends forever. So whatever. By the time I got home, it was probably like end of October. And dude, like just driving on the highway, not just in Lynn, like up to New Hampshire and stuff, you could just smell it. Like in the car, it was like messing with my eyes.
Yeah.
I could like taste the smoke. It's like the world
Yeah.
is ending, boys. Cheers. We're all doomed.
Fires are like that. I went to grad school in Florida in Gainesville, the University of Florida, and there were fires there like it was 100 miles away, but the way the wind was blowing, like the ash was dropping like snow, but that you could taste. It was the same way. It was like freaky to walk outside and then you could like there was the haze on like the sun, like it just didn't everything looked a little strange, like looking through an Instagram filter or something. And then like little white particles, you just see it on your like clothes, and then it smelled like smoke. It was awful. Where you felt
Hmm.
like, oh, I can't go outside. This is not safe. I got to stay in the house.
Oh, that's so
It's crazy.
weird. I
Hmm.
feel like it's inevitable. I mean, look at Los Angeles, obviously. It's like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like tragic, obviously, but I don't know. Like, I got my ski condo up in New Hampshire, and like, it's in national forest. I mean, it might not be in my lifetime, hopefully, but like, you know, at some point, those condos are going up in flames, dude, and I hope I'm not around when when it happens,
Right.
or I hope I
Yeah.
had sold it by then.
Yeah.
Or that. Yeah.
No, but I don't know. I feel like I don't know. Maybe that's a couple hundred years away before it gets that
So
gnarly, right? But it's happening right now, in LA and whatnot. So you got to stop me because I'll just when I'm on this side of the microphone,
Yeah.
I'll just keep going, dude. So you gotta keep me on track.
that's kind of the format of our podcast, yeah.
Oh yeah, for real.
Tangents.
Yeah. I mean, it's essentially like the ADHD happy hour, you know?
Well, then you found the right guy.
Yes.
Nice.
Are you going to officially introduce us or start us off, Kevin? We had someone on one
Oh yeah.
time, and we were probably been talking for over an hour, and he just stops us and he's like, "Are we in it? Are we doing it?" And we're like, "Oh yeah." It's not that we're not that clear about it. I'm sorry. We should have made it
Yeah.
like known that this is how we're starting.
When I like logged into Zoom, I heard it say now recording. So I was like, all right, let's rip it. So I
Oh
can,
yeah.
I can roll with it.
There you go.
Yeah.
So Kevin edits. So like anything you were to not want in, if you say something and then later regret it or whatever, or if you officially just like our thing is we'll just say time out and then we'll tell the story and then like time in, and then Kevin knows where he's not going to include that. But if after the fact you think of something, you're like, I don't want that out there.
Zach Morris style.
Yep. Exactly.
No, that's
So,
cool. I do that like I never hit the one time on my podcast, the 2 Week Notice podcast. The one time I hit record like before the person, signed in, it was Chris Carrabba, of course. And I just felt like something felt dirty about it. Like I didn't
Hmm.
Yeah.
know if he knew he was walking into. I don't care, but I didn't know if he knew he was walking into that or whatnot. And I've never done it. And I always say something similar to what you just said
Yeah.
because a lot of the reason I find that people, especially like the higher caliber musicians or whatever, for guests, like a lot of the reasons people are skeptical, aside from the fact that some people just are introverted and they're just not interested, but the other big reason I think is like I don't know, some people have just been like traumatized by these like radio douchebags who don't really look out for them. They just want to like put anything out there to like get good content or get the dirt or something like that. You know what I'm trying to
Yeah.
say? So
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I try to, and those people give, I don't know, people like us maybe a bad name. And I'm like, dude, I'm here for you first and foremost. So
Right.
if there's something you are not, if you're not happy with this episode, I'm going to be super bummed out. So
Yeah.
you tell me, like, if you, and I cut myself out, I say stupid shit all the time.
Yep.
Like, nothing
Same.
bad, but it's just like sometimes well, all right, two things. Sometimes I just go off on like, I just ramble too much. But the other thing is like sometimes if I sense that, maybe I had never met the person before. That happens a lot.
Mhm.
It's like the first time we're speaking is on that podcast recording for an hour. And it's like, all right, I'm trying to get them to like feel comfortable. So maybe I get into some personal stuff or just, you know, get a little vulnerable or something just to like, kind of like, hey, it's okay to let your guard down. But it's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
sometimes I'll cut out stuff like that I'm like, maybe this isn't meant for like everyone else to hear. It was just kind of like a moment for me and that person, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, totally.
But I don't know. I don't know where I was going with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no, like I totally do the same thing where it's like while I'm doing the edit, like there's been times where I'll shoot like Pete or Brock or Jared or the guest like a message and be like, "Hey, when we were talking about this, you didn't say timeout at the time. Like, do you want me to leave that in? Do you want me to get creative with the editing? Like, what do you want me to do? I'll make whatever changes I think are good and I'll send like that clip, and be like, "Here, how's this sound?"
I do know, dude. I mean, I
Yeah.
never manipulate the conversation, you know,
No, no,
Right.
not at
but
all.
it's just
But
like, it's just cleaning it up. Like,
yeah.
Hmm.
it's crazy to think, like, I used to not edit at all. And I've heard people say, like, podcasts, people who host podcasts that are like way more successful than mine, they're like, oh, I don't edit anything. Like, I've even had someone say, like, oh, that it's like phony or like or I keep it real kind of thing. It's like, dude, I keep it real, but
Yeah.
maybe I'm just not as good of a host as you. Like or or like I don't know. I try to listen to it from the editor, sorry, from the listener's like
Right.
standpoint, and it's like, wow, the longer I do it, the better I get at editing, and the better ear I have for it. But the flip side and the problem with that is like my if I have OCD, it flares up in the editing process more than anything else in my life. So like
Yeah.
the better I get at it, the longer it takes me to do because I get like crazy, like neurotic about like just like a millisecond. If in the middle of a word, if there's like a little tick, I'm like, I
Hmm.
want to like, I want to like clear that out, and then I'll do that, and then I'll listen back. I'll be like, well, wait, that sounds worse now. That's like weird. So it's like
Oh yeah.
this
Hmm.
insane process, and it drives me insane.
Yep.
It really drives me crazy, and I hate it so much. And I've had people like help me edit, but they never do it. They never do it as thoroughly as I would like,
Hmm.
and then like it ends up taking me just as long anyway. So it's like I'm not going to waste someone else's time, you know.
Right. Yeah, and part of the challenge, with our show is, we've got three hosts and then a guest, or sometimes multiple guests, and so it's a lot of, we're all talking over each other, or like while we're joking around, and then it's okay, listening through, okay, everyone's talking at the same time. Do I space it out a little bit so you can hear everybody's jokes that they're saying? Who do I cut? Who do I not cut? Usually I cut myself, but
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm the same. I'm the same way. Like I cut myself more than anything
Mhm.
else. I think part of that is like the self-deprecating thing.
Oh yeah.
you know, and along with the other stuff I said before. But, it's interesting listening back to yourself. You're like, ugh, shut up,
Mm.
Dana. Shut the
Right.
fuck up.
Yeah.
I get it, dude.
Uh,
I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I could get, I definitely could upgrade my microphone at this point and probably should. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, sounds fine, you know?
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
How much better can it sound? Do you need to be like audiophile excellent on headphones for a conversation?
Lossless.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, dude, I don't know, like, I don't really watch TV at all other than NFL football. That's it.
Hmm.
So I always have, if not music, a podcast, more often than not, a podcast playing,
Hmm.
whether it's even when I'm in bed, like I got the tinnitus from
Oh yeah.
all the shows,
Shows.
so
Yep.
it's like I have to have, a podcast playing on my phone at least, like when I'm going to sleep. So I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I know I'm like late to the game, and I've always known about the podcast, but I've just been going down a Joe Rogan rabbit hole, like
Yeah.
insane. Um, I mean, that guy, that podcast is great, dude. A lot of people hate on it, but I think it's incredible. But so like I'm like, what does Joe Rogan use? And I was like looking up his gear, and I was like, maybe I should upgrade to that. And I was like, yeah, maybe later. you know, this is fine.
As soon as you get that Spotify deal, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's right.
Should we finally do the intro? What do you think?
Oh,
Do it, Kevin.
What's our record? Like 5 minutes in, maybe at one point.
The fastest
But
we
yeah,
ever got
we've
to a
we've had
point.
others where
Yeah.
it's been like an hour and a half.
you don't even need to introduce me. Let's just
Oh no. Oh no,
a
it's
mystery
coming.
guest.
I spent minutes or minute while I was at work. So happy Failure Puddle Friday, everybody. Our guest this week is Dana Bollen. He is the creator and host of the 2 Week Notice podcast, where he interviews his favorite musicians and other notable individuals. After leaving his corporate job, Dana followed his passion for music by touring with various bands. He currently serves as the tour manager slash merch guy slash cowbell player extraordinaire for one of my favorite bands, Piebald. He's worked with a number of other groups such as The Story So Far, The Front Bottoms, Bayside, Thrice, Hot Rod Circuit, Alkaline Trio, and Unearth. Ladies and gentlemen, Dana Fuggenby!
Dude,
Hey.
wow. Yeah, you need a soundboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pew, pew,
Yeah.
pew. We need some sound, yeah.
Wow. I gotta,
I can put it in post.
I've
There
done
you
a
go.
lot of these things, and that might be the best introduction I've ever had. Thanks, Kevin.
No problem, dude.
That was super pro. Now, Kevin,
Lovely.
you and I met like outside of Furnace. Was it Piebald or Hot Red Circuit or both? I think it was Piebald.
Piebald at was it Side Hatch when they did the DVD screening?
We met then?
Yeah, dude.
You remember that? I don't. Wow.
Yeah.
That was like almost 20 years ago.
Yeah.
When oh my God, because that was when they all right, maybe 15 years ago. That was when they released their second DVD,
Yep.
and it was like maybe like 2012 or 13 actually, because they had
Trying to
been
remember
on
when
that.
came out.
It was like 2012 or 13 because they had been on that hiatus, and then they did like they randomly got back together to do like a week in Germany, and it was around that time because that's when the DVD came out. And this dude Ben, who really was, if it weren't for him, I don't know if I would like even be talking to you guys right now or with Piebald or anything. Because when Piebald, they also got back together for Bamboozle in like 2010 for like a couple reunion sets, and that's the first time I ever like flew out to like go see a band, and I was ecstatic that they were like back together, and I flew out and I went up to the merch table and I was talking to the dude Ben, who like was the side hatch guy.
Yeah, Side Hatch guy. Yeah.
Ben Maitland Lewis was his name, is his
Yes.
name. And I don't know, we just hit it off. He's like, dude, you flew from Lynn, that's so rad. And he's like, oh, like let me introduce you to like the guys. And I had said like hi to them before at shows and stuff, but like I bought Travis a beer once, but just like I was always just like shy and kept to myself. But Ben was like, "This dude's like the man," and he was like my hype man.
Yeah.
And him and Luke are boys, and yeah, he had that like DVD release screening at his spot
Yep.
in Boston,
Yep.
and like Travis and Aaron were in Los Angeles live streaming, and they like
Yes.
played a couple songs, and we are all just standing there like watching this big projector, like watching them like play a couple songs. I remember, and I remember it was like sponsored by like
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
PBR.
Yeah.
There was some cider there, and it was like Bean Snowboards was there because I was like really
Yep.
into snowboarding. I talked to those guys, and yeah, I just remember like walking in like feeling awkward and uncomfortable because I was
Oh
like
yeah,
I
for
didn't really
real.
know anyone, you know.
So the way I got into there, so Ben apparently invited my buddy Jay, who ran a record label out of Middleborough. I think it was Middleborough. And he invited me along, but his car broke down while he was on his way in, and I had taken the T. So I'm just standing outside on the sidewalk, and one of the dudes from Piebald came up and was just like, "Oh, hey man, good to see you." Like starts talking to me, and he's like, "Yeah, come on in." So like I walk in, and he's talking to me and like going on, and then I just slowly see this look on his face of, "You're not who I thought you were." Oh my God, I just invited some. He's like, are you are you Jay? And I was like, no, 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 no. I was like, my buddy Jay invited me here, but his car broke down. He's like, oh, okay, so you were actually supposed to be here? That's cool, at least.
I'm gonna get. I mean, I got a 50-50 shot here because two of them were in Los Angeles and two of
Yep,
them were at. I'm gonna guess that was Andy.
I believe you are correct.
Yeah, yeah. It's just I just know their personalities well enough. I'm
Yeah.
like I feel like I know how each one of them would handle that.
Hmm.
But that's crazy because that was before I toured with them. You know, I
Yeah.
was a super fan for sure, but I was like pretty shy and well, depends on the situation, I guess. But what a memory! I like, yeah. I now that you brought it up, I do remember you bringing that up before, I think, but I don't remember meeting like that was like a lot for me to take in. You know, I remember
Yeah.
I dragged my friend there with me, and he had a good time. But um, I don't know that. So, what do you? Did we talk to each other?
Briefly.
How do you remember this? That's wild.
I I remember like random stuff like that, but like ask me somebody's phone number, I couldn't tell you. Yeah. You know?
Who remembers phone numbers? I mean,
Right,
That's
exactly.
true.
Well,
Especially
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
nowadays.
yeah. Although I still remember my friend who I brought to that piebald thing, 593-2408. That was his phone number in Lynn, Massachusetts, growing up. Before you had to punch in the area code first. In case anyone wants to know, Ryan Mitchell's phone number. There you go.
Does that need a
Call him
timeout?
up, see if he's there.
But yeah, so I guess after that or since then, I remember you brought, was it your daughter? Did I,
Yes.
to
Yeah.
like a show in recent years, maybe at like I don't know,
Yeah, up at the Middle
Sinclair or
East.
some
Yep.
Middle East. Okay,
Yep.
and that was before like seeing you at Furnace Fest, right?
After, I think. Yeah.
After Furnace Fest? No,
Was it?
I don't know. When did we play the Middle East? Oh, with Weekend Friends a couple years ago.
Yes. Yep. I think I might have talked to you like once or twice at like other piebald shows, but just kind of not like in depth or anything like that. Did a little bit at Furnace Fest, but then definitely when I had my daughter with me at the Weekend Friends one, because we got there early, so we were just hanging out talking with you over at the merch.
Right, and that I remember vividly. Yeah, we chatted for a while, and I was like, "Wow,
Yeah.
these two were like cool." And I think it's so cool when, you know, we're at that age where I don't have kids, but when someone brings like their little boy or little girl or multiple kids, and they're like, this is Jennifer. It's her first concert like ever, and I'm like, do you have a shirt that could like fit her? And I'm like, yeah, this is the smallest one I got. And it's
Yeah.
just like it's so like cool. That's what it's about. You got to pass it on to the kids and like I try every show. I'm pretty good at it, but like, because as soon as the set ends, of course, the stalker where I play the cowbell is usually the last song. So I have to like
Yep.
run across the crowd and like try to fight through everybody and get to the merch table. But I try to always like, you know, untape all the set lists and like hand them out. And
Mhm.
if there's kids that I talked to earlier before the set, or like I know there's kids that like, that's where those set lists are going first,
Yeah,
if I can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
that's cool.
'Cause
Yeah.
I save that stuff. Like I still have set lists. I mean, I don't. collect them as much anymore. Now what I do is when I'm on tour and there's like the dressing room like printouts with like the
Oh
band
yeah.
logo, I snatch all
Yeah.
those off the fucking wall, dude. Like I have all sorts of, like this When We Were Young thing for it's the
Hmm.
front bottoms. Like there was only one of those, and I as soon as I saw it, I was like, I want that flag. I want it so bad.
Absolutely.
I have a thing for I have this like weird thing for like signs. I don't know
Mhm.
what
Yeah.
that is, but yeah, I was like, I want that so bad. And by chance, at the end of the tour, like the band was gone, and I was helping the bus driver like clean up the bus, and they had left it behind. I was like, yoink, you know.
Mine.
I don't know.
Nice.
I like that stuff. I'm like
Hmm.
sentimental in that way, I guess.
Yeah.
Just like well, I mean, you got all that stuff. Those are all records behind you. That's cool.
Yeah,
90
most of them are records. A couple of them are album flats for the ones that aren't on vinyl.
word, yo, word. Anywho,
But enough about us.
Yeah.
yeah. I didn't mean to, dude. I'll derail this all day. So
That's what
No,
we're
no,
hoping for.
dude, that's what this show is. I mean, our podcast, it's basically just a hangout. It's a lot less of an interview. It's more of a we just want to hang out and just, tell stories and hear stories and just have a good time. So
I have a question
go for it.
for you again, Kevin. How long does it take you to edit one of these episodes?
Let me think. Probably I usually take Wednesday off. Don't do anything on Wednesday. Thursday, I'll edit for maybe like 2 hours or so. And then Friday, sometimes an hour. And then usually I try and wrap it up on like Saturday morning. And then Monday on my way to work, I'll kind of just play through the edit on my way in at like 1.5 speed just to make sure it sounds good. I
Yo,
didn't miss anything. And then that's pretty much it.
so like 6 hours, up to 6 hours per episode, five, six,
It depends on how long the episode is.
right?
We've done some doozies.
We make it challenging for him because we don't know when to
Yeah.
stop. Yeah.
Dude,
Pretty bad at the cutoff time. I'll tell you that. So yeah, advance warning when you've had enough and it's time to go. Like we're not very good about a stop. So
I'm not either.
poor
So,
Kevin. Poor Kevin.
Yeah, we make it work.
dude, I'm the same way. Like I used to, there have been many occasions on the 2 Week Notice podcast where I've spoke to people like 4 hours or more.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
I'm think like John LaCroix, 10 Yard Fight stands out. Nathan from Microwave, Jake from 4 Year Strong, Brandon Davis of In Spirit and Vanna. And there's a bunch like where it's just like at a certain, I mean, there's some people where it's like maybe I don't even like schedule, I don't even interact with them, like say Dustin from Thrice. Like it was like,
Mhm.
you got, or Matt Pryor. With some people of those higher caliber, it's like you got 1 hour, and those you can kind of tell. It's like you gotta like stay on track. And I got my watch on, and I'm just like staring at the time, and like when it's like 10 of, I'm like, all right, let's start like closing it out. Like I
Right.
try to be pro in those moments, but if someone's just chilling and they're like, especially if it's like this time, because I'm a night owl, and
Hmm.
me and Nathan were like smoking weed and just drinking beers and just, we were just shooting the
Yeah.
shit. And I
Yeah.
knew I wasn't gonna keep all that, obviously, but at the same time, or it was another one, Mike Weiss from Me Without You. We spoke for like 3.5 hours, and
Oh.
Dang.
it's like that one in particular, I was like, because how like diehard those fans are. It was
Oh
like
yeah.
Right
I
here.
should put this whole thing out, but I don't want to put out a 3.5 hour episode. I'm not Joe Rogan,
Right.
right? Or with Nathan from Microwave. I remember at a certain point, that's a better example, like listening for like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours as I'm going through, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck what we said after this. I'm I'm out. Like I'm just gonna
Yeah.
stop it
Yeah.
because it already takes me so long it takes me like like I explained before, like how overly tedious I can be with it or neurotic,
Hmm.
but also like I think I'm slower than average in general. So you put those together and it's just like this new project I'm working on. I might as well mention that.
Yeah, let's talk
Yeah.
about that. That thing's exciting.
So yeah, it's called Live Free or DIY. Um,
Mm.
so this professor, Andrew Mall, he's a music professor at Northeastern University. Actually, he found me through the Furnace Fest community,
Hmm.
and
Nice.
which is cool. Yeah, that's so cool. That's why we're here now, right?
Right.
I
100%.
love. I just like think that's so rad. And he hit me up. I almost didn't even see the message because we weren't like connected on the socials. You know when you get, and I don't know, Facebook is like so confusing, dude. There's like so much like there's way too much going on in like the like if you click over and like there's just so much you can see. There's the marketplace. I keep getting these dating app. No, I'm like, I'm not even fuck off. Like, there's just like way too much on there. I'm like, dude, you
They're
know,
the easiest messages to miss. I'm with you. Like
Yeah.
I've gotten a message and felt terrible like 3 months later. It'll be like a friend who was like inviting you to something. I'm like, oh, I would have gone, but I didn't even see this thing. I didn't know it was happening.
exactly. And if you're
Like more
not
so than any other social media, it's Facebook where you don't see
Right.
the messages.
100%, and I got the 2 week notice Facebook, and I do the piebald like Facebook, which I don't even know how to like use. It's Instagram is just a million times better. But
Hmm.
yeah, you don't get like, or at least I don't get notifications if I have a message request, right?
Yeah.
From someone who's not a friend. So I happen to stumble upon it somehow and see it. Like you said, Jared, like I've gone months or maybe even long, like maybe a year or more. I don't know, without ever seeing. There's probably some I haven't seen still that I have, and but whatever. So I stumbled across it, and he was just like, "Hey, I'm a music professor at Northeastern. I have like seen you in the Furnace Fest community and heard your podcast, and got some funding from the school, and I want to start this podcast mini series about like the DIY music scenes, our scene, hardcore,
Hmm.
punk, emo, and we can pay you some money with the funding I got. Like, hit me back if you're interested. And I was like, oh shit, cool. Like right there, that was a cool moment. Like any moment like that is real, or even just being on this podcast, stuff like that is cool for me. It makes me feel good because it's like it's a thankless thing that I pour my heart and soul into with the 2 week notice podcast. I don't make money off it. I don't make a dime. I lose money, which is fine. It's a passion project. But
Yeah.
when someone wants me on their podcast, or in this case with Andrew Mall, and he's like, dude, like I want to pay you money to like work with me and do it. I'm like, whoa, like I don't know. It's just like those are like cool moments that carry me sometimes when I'm sitting there like just balls deep in the editing, and I'm just like, I hate my life right now, you know? So
But
yeah,
now you can
so,
tell people you're a professional podcaster. You've been paid for it. So you and Joe Rogan are the
right,
same,
Yeah.
basically.
dude, watch
Except you
out.
do the editing,
Same
so
level.
you got a
Right.
leg up on him.
You know what I need?
Yeah,
Well,
let him
aside from
know.
a studio and maybe that new microphone that I was talking about, and I need his I don't know if you guys listen to it, but he's got his tech guy Jamie. So as they're
Okay.
talking about stuff, he has it pulled up for them like on the screen like right away. I was listening to
Mhm.
an episode like an interview with Hulk Hogan the other day, and he was just so blown away at how good that guy Jamie was. Like they'd be talking, he's like, "How's this guy doing this so fast?" It was like it was amazing. It was great. It was great. But
So I derailed you. You're talking about your podcast, the new one.
no, dude, it's all good, brother. Yeah, Live Free or DIY is the title. I stole that from the New Hampshire state slogan because the New
Mm.
Hampshire state slogan is "Live
That's
Free or
right.
Die," and we
The
had
best
like,
state slogan.
that's right, that's
That
right,
one's strong. Yeah.
dude. New
That's pretty
Hampshire,
punk rock too.
New Hampshire rules, dude.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were like struggling to come up with a name, and or we had this student like assistant helping us with research and stuff, and they pulled up a bunch of names using like AI because we were just struggling over Zoom, just like kind of brainstorming. It's just like if you ever been in a band, you're like, I don't know what to name this. Like it's like sometimes like
Oh yeah.
it can be like a long like what do we call it? Half the band names out there hate their names because
Right.
they didn't know what to call themselves, and they're like, let's just go with
Hmm.
this. We need something. We're playing a show, so yeah. And then there were like only two that I really liked that popped up on those searches. And I don't remember what they were, but I was like, well, make sure they're not taken first. And sure enough, they were taken. And it just I don't know, it
The
just
AI
came
found them. Yeah.
it came to me relatively quickly. I mean, like we were chatting for like maybe an hour, and I was just like, "What about Live Free or DIY?" And at first, I wasn't sure if I liked it, but I think I love it now. And everyone else, unless people are just being nice, but everyone else is like, "This is a sick name." I'm like, "All right, I'll take it." Anyway, so that's the name, and it's a 6 episode mini series on the DIY music scenes, and we have a killer panel of. So we interviewed 12 people. We split up the interviews, 6 and 6, and it's also like, I got 6 people on, and he chose 6 people, and we asked them all the same series of questions, and then each episode has a theme. So the first episode is a pilot. The second episode is sustainability and resilience, uh, regarding the DIY music scenes. The third one is on community. The fourth one is on mental health. The fifth one, oh God, I literally just finished it too. I can't remember. It's on something else. And then the sixth one is on like challenges that we face today to like close it out. And to close out the season, we're talking about a season 2, which would be cool.
Hmm.
Oh, cool.
But what is that other theme? But anyway, so the panel we got, so not each person has their own episode. We are like pulling clips from the 12 interviews we did and scattering them throughout the series. So I'll name a few panel people. So we got Ascenders from the early November. We have Norm Brandon of Thursday in Texas is the Reason. We have Luke Garrow, who plays drums in Piebald and In My Eyes and Fast Break. We have Joey, frontman of Koyo. We have, who else do we have? Help me out. We have Chris Wren of Bridge 9 Records, Chad and Johnny from Furnace Fest.
Don't you have the guy from Passion Pit that's a professor?
That's right. We Jeff
I
Abruzzi's.
thought that was
He
super interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too. That was Andrew's guy. He like, knows him through his
Okay.
professor networks. Um, and he was like, "Oh,
There
this
was another professor too, right?
yes, this dude Matt Dunn, who he's a professor or a
South
professor's
Carolina?
assistant or something. He was a like a DIY promoter for many years in Albany, but he might be somewhere else now.
Okay.
I'm spacing on that, but yeah, so it's not just like we have some awesome like I love the band people that we got. Brandon Davis of Fever 333 and Vanna and In Spirit, and so like we got awesome musicians, but we also have like Chad and Johnny who are festival promoters. We also have Chris Wren of Bridge 9 Records, so a record label owner. We have this kid who's like a photographer. So it's not just musicians. We tried to really get like people from all walks of the DIY music scene life. So it's not just the perspective of people on stage, although a lot of the conversation is like based on those perspectives. Because I do feel, well, that's maybe half our panel are in bands. And I do feel like that is probably the most interesting stuff to hear, like for the listener. If I'm listening, I want to hear what the band people have to say, probably like the most, especially if I'm a fan of theirs. But I also think it's cool that we got, people from with other perspectives, and we tried to also mix it up as far as like people of, people in their 20s and 30s and 40s. It's nice to have like a women on there. Season 2, we should probably get a couple more ladies on there. We have a couple people of different ethnic backgrounds. Norm Brandon, he's Latino and he's queer.
Mhm.
So we tried to like be conscious of really like getting as many different unique perspectives as we possibly could. And, going back to what I was talking about earlier, like with the editing thing, I've grown as a podcast editor for sure because this is like a whole different ball game with taking clips from 12 different people, and then the professor and we're doing voiceovers, so
Mm.
we're co-hosts.
Hmm.
So we do a whole introduction to like kick off the episode, and then we'll be like, what are we talking about today? And then we'll get into it, and we'll kick off with like Luke from Piebald or something, and then play his clip, and then we chime in between, and then we'll be like, we'll kind of respond to that clip, and then we'll introduce the next clip, and then so it was a lot more work than I anticipated, even though I knew it was gonna suck as far as like post production. But even the professor, like, because we did for every episode, I mean, 2 to 3, 5 hour Zoom sessions of building the episode, listening to the clips together. And all right, we're talking about community today. We would come into it with clips from everybody. We had a spreadsheet on Google Drive. It's like, all right, pull up, we would put timestamps, and we listened to each of our own interviews. Like, we split it up 6 and 6. And it was like, all right, so just pull anything from community, put the timestamps on the Google Drive spreadsheet I made, and then we had to listen to everything together, and then kind of piece by piece put it together and really talk out everything. It wasn't like there's no script, but we like talked about, strategically finding an order that makes sense for
Mhm.
like the clips. And then like, all right, and then we had to like kind of think about what we would say in between, and all, sometimes that would be 2 different Zoom sessions of just building one episode. And then comes the recording part. And I am way better in like this type of environment. This is like
Yeah.
what I'm comfortable with. But dude, I'm terrible at like, all right, you're on. Like, we're recording. And how many
Yeah.
times I would just like, would not stage fright, but I would just like lose momentum, or because like
Hmm.
I would have like notes. And so it was like a whole different learning curve for me as a podcast host and as an editor. I'm being really long-winded right now. Is this interesting? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, you're
Yeah.
good.
I think it is.
Transitions are hard when you have set questions, right? Like, because you don't want to be like, oh, okay, well, thank you for that. Next.
Okay,
It
next.
just seems robotic. So it's like, how do you get to what you're trying to ask, especially if you guys are matching each other? Because you want both sides of the panel to be similar, right? You don't want like you
Totally.
freewheeling and then he's sticking to the script, and now you've got two sets of answers addressing
Yeah,
questions. But it's hard to like naturally flow from like being an MC or a host is much harder than people think. Of just like being the person that walks people from here to here and getting from
Yeah.
this
totally.
question to the next and making it all sound good and comfortable and not like awkwardly between two ferns. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that style of just like halting, blunt, like uncomfortable. So yeah, I hear what you're saying.
No, I think you're spot on. And the other thing is, I mean, this dude has a million projects going on. So, like,
Yeah.
speaking to what you just said with, the voiceover stuff, and then I'm in post production putting it all together, and maybe something he said, like, didn't, maybe the recording got messed up, or it
Mm.
just like, or, I mean, there's just a lot to sift through. And I'm the one who's like really producer, I guess, right? Like piecing it together and trying to make everything flow. And it's like, oh crap, like I can't use maybe this little section. Like if it's me, I can just re-record it,
Yep.
on my own. But even that, I did that a couple times out of necessity, and I'm sure I'll notice it more than anyone. But like maybe my voice sounded different that day, or maybe I was in a
Mhm.
different room that day. So it's just like, to me, I'm like, oh, that sounds weird, but it is whatever. Like I can't obsess too much over it. But with him, it's just like I gotta just use what I got, and that's that. I'm not gonna like. There was one time I had him like re-record a couple of things. He crushed it actually. Andrew is way better than me at like the whole voiceover thing, and like just like, all right, we're recording, time to talk. And he's just like, he's really good. I actually felt like I know I was punishing him at times, when I would have to like, just wasn't, if I wasn't flowing at my best, or even the episode building. I think he had it in his mind, and I wish he was here to like speak to this, but I'm pretty sure in his mind when we started this whole thing, it was just like, all right, man, I got some money. I'm gonna pay this dude to do like all the legwork and the editing and everything. And that way, like for him, I think his perspective, he could just sit down and just hit record and we could just rip. I don't think he expected, yeah, I know he didn't expect to, put, maybe up to 12 hours in per episode, just building it and all that stuff. And there were definitely times where I'm just like, the first couple episodes that we were building, I could always sense that he just like, why is this like taking so long, dude? This is insane. And in my mind, I'm like, no, like, if I'm in on something, I'm all in. And I think I imagine it's very comparable to being like in a writer's room for like a
Mhm.
cartoon or Saturday Night Live or something, right? I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and was that his first recording venture? Because I can imagine, like, I mean, I don't know what Kevin does, so I'm appreciative of his work, but I don't understand it because I have no background in editing. So I'm learning a little tiny bit as we're talking and like what we need to do, but I had no concept. So to me, like, it wouldn't seem naturally like editing would take a lot of work,
Oh my God.
right? You're like, you just kind of cut here and there because I'm ignorant, right? Just
You
foolish.
fucking asshole.
Exactly. But like you're talking about a project with
It's
like
the worst.
but but I know a big challenge of ours is like if it's the four of us with a guest, that's five different files of audio that he's matching up and lining up and pulling from. And you guys now, if you got this many people involved, you're piecing together. If it's one
It's a lot.
conversation, one shared mic, it's one thing. But when you're bringing in all these components and combining into a cohesive unit, that's really hard. But if he's never made one, I could see him being like, yeah, we'll just record some stuff and put it out there and like we'll follow the script, all good. He'll make
Right.
sure it doesn't have like an echo in the background, but not realizing like the effort to put it together. Because that's how I would be.
Yeah.
And like a project like that, like where you've got your initial, okay, answer all these questions, but then you're interspersing other stuff. It's so much harder than, like this. I can line up all the tracks, and as I'm editing and cutting things out, that huge file's just getting smaller and smaller. Where that other project, it's okay, you've got this big chunk. Yeah, you're cutting stuff out, but it's I need to save all of this for later. And it's yeah.
100%, dude. It's a
Yep.
lot. He did have radio background.
Mm.
So he did like I forget the name of the show that he launched in Chicago years ago that is like still it's still kicking. So
Oh,
it's like
cool.
a cool thing. Yeah, the radio show that he had was like it was like underground stuff, like stuff that we listened to. So he like I love this. I'm getting like chills because this dude. The one thing is like I know I drove him crazy. Like I can be a lot to handle in the first place, just maybe personality wise. But like also, yeah, I know I drove him nuts with just how long it ended up taking, and like it's just like all right, well let's listen. We need to listen to that clip together again. We need to record this again, like that. Let's do it. I didn't think that take was good, or I need another take just in case that one sucked. I don't. We're not in a studio. I can't just play it back, right? So it's like, I know I drove him nuts sometimes, but the thing that he and I vibed up, I think definitely from the very beginning, just as far as like, a couple of scene kids who are really passionate about this thing, and he's a great dude. Like I got a new friend now. I love working with that guy. I hope we do a season two, although it's like the worst thing for me that is always in the back of my mind is I had to put 2 week notice on hold.
Yeah.
And I always like often have to put it on hold already because I'm always on tour. So I never get enough 2 week notice podcast episodes out. Like, I've been sitting so I now have one that's over a year ago. I interviewed Jeff from Karate like February last year that
Wow.
I haven't even touched the file yet because, I'm like on tour. And that kills me not only because I want to keep my show going and it's really hard to like pick up the momentum. If you don't put out like do you know the new scene with Keith?
Yeah.
Great podcast. That dude is I think that show's one of the best out there, like in the scene circles. I
This is a
love his
good one.
show. He's the man, dude. And like I think some of my episodes are just as good as his, but he is consistent every single week. That dude is putting out an episode, whether it's fucking Christmas, whether he's sick, whether he's working or he's also in a band or bands, like no matter what, dude, he's putting those out consistently, and that's crucial. But at the same time, it's like you you know you I can do whatever I want. I can put out one a year, I guess, but you know what I mean. Like it's also disrespectful to the guests. Like
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you hear anything from them about like when's my episode coming out?
so I always ask them like you know before recording, aside from like hey if you want to cut anything out, just let me know afterwards. But I always ask like what do you got coming up? Like is there a time crunch on this? Do you have a new record or a tour? And sometimes that's why they're there in the first place, so I already
Mhm.
know. But like, all right, so I'll take Dustin from Thrice, for example. When I got him, he was putting out a new solo record and he was about to do a solo tour. I interviewed him in March of last year, and his record came out like maybe later that month or the next month, and he did a tour in April. I didn't get it out till
Mhm.
November. And that's the one time I took a break from Live for Your DIY editing to put out like a 2 week notice episode because Thrice was about to go on tour with Manchester Orchestra. So I'm like, all right, this is how I got to handle this. It's the least I can do. I got to just like push really hard, edit this thing, get it out, and during the intro, I'll just explain, dude, we spoke like, way back when his solo stuff came out, but hey, his solo stuff is still there. It's not going anywhere. Go listen to it.
Mhm.
And then I just cut out the part where he plugged the solo tour and I plugged the Thrice tour. So, and it worked out like, this is how I was like, all right, because the whole time I'm like, he's like, I'm gonna put this out and like tag him and shit, and he's just gonna be like, oh, now this asshole's like putting that out, like, but like he was a collab on the post and posted it from his stuff, and they shared it from like the Thrice story. So I was just like, oh, okay, that made me feel better. But like,
Yeah.
I'm sitting on one from Joey from Koyo, and Ben Jorgensen. He's the singer of Armor for Sleep. We spoke in like June after I toured with him, and I still like this guy's probably he's probably I asked him, all right, dude, like when do you want this to come out? And he was like, dude, we got all sorts of stuff coming up, like so it doesn't even matter. Well, you shouldn't say that to me because I'm like, all right, like you know,
Next
You
year.
need a deadline, right?
Yeah.
Dustin's gonna
A
be
delivery
first.
date.
But
Yeah.
like, so that's the one that's on my mind the most right now because I don't know, I just feel disrespectful. It's like this dude gave me the
Yeah.
time, and the least I can do is put it out at a time that's good for him. So he's about to go on to Armor for Sleep and Boys Night Out and Hello Goodbye, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Boys Night Out, they actually wanted me to. Connor hit me up to be tour manager, but I'm committed to this Poppy tour and Unearth, all three tours at the same time. I had to turn those other two down, which is I wish I could do all three, but
Right.
the least I could do, is like I want to put out that interview and do the same thing and just be like, hey, we spoke last summer, just getting to it now. I just been slammed. But the Armor for Sleep is on a headliner right now, and they could probably use that push to help sell tickets, right? So that's what I'm trying to do, but I leave for this tour tomorrow and I'm really crunched for time. I've been editing this last Live for Your DIY episode nonstop, and this is a nice break for me to talk to you guys just because,
You've been listening to that?
yeah, dude. And Kevin, like what you were saying when you were like listening back, or you'll play it back at 1.5 speed to just like,
Yep.
check it out. How often, because when I do that, my final listen through when it's like done, or maybe even after I published it, I always play it just to like,
Oh yeah.
it's like what did I maybe fuck up, right?
Yep.
Hopefully nothing because it's out there now, but it's like at that point my brain is already so fried from listening to it over and over and over. It's just like I can't. It's just like I need someone else to tell me if this is good because I don't even know
Yeah.
anymore. Sometimes I put
Mhm.
out episodes and I'm like, this is terrible. Who nobody's gonna like this, and like it's awful. And then, you know, some time goes by and then I'll get messages like, like that episode with whoever that was incredible, and I'm like, oh wow. The Thrice one, I thought it was
Mhm.
terrible, just because I was just so in it. You know what I mean? Does
Yeah.
it make sense at all? Is this
Mm-hmm.
boring?
100%.
Oh, it
No, no,
totally
you're
makes
good.
sense to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's funny because the other day, I think Jared, it was you that texted like, "Oh, like the ending of that episode was great, great pick for
Yeah.
the outro music," and I'm like, I don't even remember what I put for the
Yeah.
for the outro.
Yeah. You're convincing me even more to like say thank you to Kevin because like it's the opposite because the way we do this like we record on Tuesdays, which is fun. And then it's like the next Friday is when it comes out. Not like this week, but next week is what Kevin's been able to produce, like because he's on it for all of us. And so I'll listen when it comes out, and I'll forget what we talked. Like literally this last week, I was like, oh, I forgot about all of those things, and so now I'm even more appreciative because y'all are talking about like, oh, I've heard it 48 times. So like,
Oh
how
yeah.
could you
Mm.
forget because you've heard it so much? And I'm like, it's been 8 days and I forgot all about what we talked about because we rambled so long. And then I listened back and what Kevin turned it into. And there's been like the editing part of it where sometimes like, oh, that felt a little bit awkward for a little bit or it was uncomfortable. And then I listened back and I'm like, Kevin made it sound fun and awesome and like that was great. So appreciative. Yeah, I don't think I appreciated your work fully, Kevin. And Dana, maybe you just need like three other co-hosts who can like when it comes out, they're gonna be like, "You're the man. This is amazing. This is incredible. You got to do that." So you just need some people on the pod to like pump
Cheerleaders.
you up after the fact because we try our best. I think. Are we doing a good job, Kevin? Are we being appreciative?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna steal Kevin from you.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, we can't match the pay rate. Hold up. We'll give him a double share of the Patreon.
Oh
You,
yeah.
We don't have a Patreon. That's the problem.
yeah, dude, Jared, no offense, but yeah, you got the easy job, brother.
Oh,
Yeah.
100%. I just have fun.
This
Just
this
talk.
this is the fun part, like
Yeah, I
the
just have fun.
conversation. Yeah,
Yeah.
But yeah, like when it's, sometimes there's times where it's like a 5 minute clip and you're sitting there working on it for like a half hour. Just like you said earlier, like there's a tiny little like clip or I started to say something and then midway through the sentence I misspoke, so I started the sentence over again, but I spoke so there's no gap to kind of clean cut. So it's like, ah, what do I do?
totally. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, you don't know if like which way is going to sound best unless you try every single little
Yep.
possibility. Sometimes you have to shave off like milliseconds if there's like a little tick or something, and but then it like sounds weird. But yeah, I've spent more than a half hour on
Oh yeah.
a 5 minute segment can take me a couple hours in extreme cases, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane sometimes, and
And that's why we will never do a video version of our podcast
yeah,
because
that
that's
yes,
what my degree was in, was video and radio production. And so like I've done all sorts of like video editing and stuff like that. And just holy crap, like that just adds a whole nother level of, you know, yeah, it's
that's
you
no,
can't
you
do as much splicing with the video because then it gets all choppy and just
Yeah,
yes.
visually.
like,
Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
so I think about this a lot too, because you know, YouTube is a whole different thing that I haven't even tapped into, and
Mhm.
a lot of people consume their podcasts via YouTube. Some people don't even watch it. This is how they play it and listen
Yeah.
in the background, and
Yeah.
a lot of people do watch that video as well, and it's like you could get a whole different audience by tapping into that. And people are like, "Oh, why aren't you on YouTube?" I'm like, "You have no fucking idea how long it takes me just to get the audio out."
Exactly.
Right.
Then you'd have to
Yeah.
give up editing. Yeah, just raw at that point.
Or just like so I was messing around once in a while. I'll put out I'll make an Instagram reel of like
Yep.
a 1 to 2 minute clip of the podcast, and like that will take me an hour or two to like put together, just like that quick little thing. And like you said, Kevin, yeah, like once you've cleaned up the audio, which is the most important part. Although I think with the video element, if people are watching it, I think it's more forgivable if the audio is not as clean
Yeah.
because it will sync
Mhm.
up. But once you have the audio, yeah, it makes no sense because the video is not going to sync up. But what the trick is that's when people will put up like if we're talking about me on tour with Bayside, where the video like doesn't line up, you just put up like the flyer
Yep.
of just to
Yeah.
like cover that up.
Right.
And these are things I would have never even picked up on or thought about if I didn't start editing. But like
Right.
now that if I do watch a podcast on YouTube, I'm like, oh, that they do that when there's like a little blip and the things aren't lining up. And, I mean,
Yep.
Mm.
I'm assuming it makes the most sense. But
Exactly.
like,
Or yeah, like
yeah,
with like concert footage and stuff like that, or like, if you're watching somebody speak, there's a sudden cut to like the audience and you're like, ah.
exactly. Yeah, like a comedy special or something
Oh
when they
yeah.
do like the
Yep.
full room shot or they cut to the audience like you said, they're doing that to cover up something that didn't like line because
Mm.
like with the comedy special, like the like the notable ones, they're recording at least two different sets.
Yep.
Like
Right.
sometimes more and they're putting all like the best of all that together. So when they're panning to like showing these other shots, that's that's a transition thing,
Yep. Yeah,
which
so
is
Yep.
I was
cool.
at a Comedy Central presents taping in Boston. It was David O'Doherty, and I forget who else. There was like two or three other comedians that they were filming that night. And
Cool.
one of the guys, he went to take a drink of his water and he spilled it on his shirt. Well, they're taping this, to put out. So they actually like stopped the show. Someone came out with like a hair dryer plugged into an extension cord, and they're like, drying off his shirt, to get it dry so that they could start the show back up again. And he had moved like the stool that was on stage, so they had to like play back what they had to figure out, okay, where was the stool just to
Yeah.
make sure that it looked all right. It was wild. And like I knew exactly what was going on, because I'm like, oh yeah, like I see what's going on here, but a lot of people in the crowd probably had no idea why they were doing it like that
Right.
and
Totally.
why they were so like particular.
Yep.
Did you have you guys seen that like oral history of Dashboard's MTV Unplugged? Where
I don't think
like
so,
No.
but I would love to.
so and it might
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was an oral history I saw online or if it's in a book I like maybe like Do You Know Where Your Boys Are? What was that like the emo book? Like
Where are your boys tonight?
yeah, it might have been in there. I can't remember. I read that book, but like it might have been on some article. But it was like they recorded that over and over and over for hours. Like it's not a performance. And like those kids that were invited in, they were there like 6 hours while they played it constantly, song after song after song, and redid it and redid it and redid it. And then like the unplugged is the final product of all of that, where it looks like one set. And like I would have
Wow.
never known that. I assumed it was a performance of MTV
Yeah.
Unplugged. You know what I mean? Like, as just an
Mhm.
average consumer at the house, not that that was rehearsed over and over and over again until they got it right for the
I would,
whatever they were going for, whatever that was. And they said it was
Yep.
like exhausting to be there, and they'd have to like perk the crowd up again, get all these kids because like, it was like past midnight by the time they were done, and get the enthusiasm like every time they went it, the same song they'd heard over and over, trying to get them
yeah.
back into it, do the sing along and all of that stuff.
Well, just like sitcoms and stuff that are recorded in front of a live studio
Oh
audience,
yeah.
right? You're not gonna, I'm sure they're using that initial laugh if they're using a later take, because it's not gonna be as funny
Right.
to the crowd if they're watching the same thing over and over, right? Or this is this is a theory on my part, but I'm a big Bill Burr fan. That's my guy.
Hmm. Yeah.
And one of his specials is in black and white. And I don't know if any of you have seen it, but my theory has always been because his wardrobe selection, I think he fucked up. Like the shirt he was wearing, he was sweating like crazy. Like you ever get like wear a long sleeve and you got like the not only pit stains but like the elbow
The elbow
Yeah,
pit
pit.
yeah.
stain.
Yeah.
He had that. So my theory, even before I started editing, I'm like, I bet he put this in black and white because it looks. It cleans it up a little bit, I guess, if you put it in
Mhm.
black and
Yeah.
white. I feel like in color, I don't know what color his shirt was, but you know, maybe I'm wrong, but I always thought that that has to be why they did that because he was like so sweaty, so it kind of like made it look a little better. That's a great special. I forget the name of that one. You guys like Bill Burr?
I do.
Mhm.
He's the best.
I think we have to if we live up here.
You're right. You're right. Totally. But yeah, Jared, I just gotta say, I want to say thank you to you because you came up to my table this year at Furnace Fest,
Yeah, yeah.
and Well, heart to heart, you said some really, really nice things that like made my day. Um, you just had really nice stuff to say about the podcast, so it meant a lot to me.
I love your podcast. Like love it. It's when a new episode comes out, it's an auto. Like you subscribe to a lot of podcasts, and some of them like you scan it when a new episode comes out, and you're like, "Yeah, am I interested? Maybe not. Like if I'll get to it." And then there's the certain ones that I'm like, "Oh, as soon as it comes out, I'm going to listen to it." So for me, like yours is one of those like if a new episode hits, if I open my podcast app and I see a new 2 week notice, that's an automatic listen. And like
Yeah.
the majority of the time I'm interested in whoever you're talking to just because I already like the band. But sometimes like it's not a band I'm really a regular. I'm still going to listen to the podcast because you have good conversations. Like you guys like
Yeah.
it's a really well done. I love it for our scene. Like you have people that we all know on there, but even ones that I'm not familiar with. The conversation's so good. It does feel natural. So you're doing a great job of editing with all the hours you're
Yeah.
putting in. Yeah. So like I saw your booth and was like, I gotta go say hi because I think we had DM'd a few times. Maybe like I'd sent you a message that I liked an episode. Nothing like extensive, but a little bit of back and forth. I was like, well, he's right over there, like in person. I should go say hi and tell him I appreciate. And one thing we've been doing, like I think I said it first, but like on this podcast, we've been fortunate to have some artists on who were in bands, particularly when we were younger, who were like formative for us.
Hmm.
And our own internal conversation, like the group text chat of like, man, I'm a little embarrassed that I fanboyed too much over so and so, and then afterwards, I thought about it a little bit. I was like, you know what? Whatever. Like, we're not going to be the cool podcast that like plays it straight. Like, we love your stuff, man. Let's just tell people if they make something we like, let's tell them we like it. Like, unabashed, unashamed. Don't worry about like if we're cool or not, because I think that's better than trying to keep up appearances. So if somebody makes something that I like and I get a chance to talk to them, I now want to tell them I appreciate what you're doing. And I think connecting a little bit with artists or their stories or like your podcast where you hear about them that I didn't appreciate when I was younger is someone who makes art is like putting themselves out there and they're opening
Hmm.
themselves up to criticism. So if it's meaningful to me, like somebody took a risk that mattered to me, they deserve being told that risk was worth it, at least to one person. I appreciate the courage. I appreciate the product. And so that's why I felt like, and I think you put that energy out. Like you're just a positive
Yeah.
dude, which is a lot of the reason why I like your podcast of like, I don't listen to like, I don't read a lot of critical reviews. I don't need that from music or whatever. Someone that's not my world of like, I'm not interested in picking apart art from like a critical eye. I don't have that. I'm not a critiquer of it's someone asks me what's so great about it. I'm like one of those vague, I don't know, I like it. It
I
sounds
like
cool.
it.
Like I like his voice. I don't have technical expertise, but I also am not interested in picking apart somebody's work. It's more or less like, hey, if I like it, I want to tell them I like it. I appreciate it. It makes my life better. And so that's how I felt about going over to talk to you. Is like he's right here. And then I think Furnace Fest breeds that. And
Totally.
you've been such a big
Yeah.
part of that community, I think, too, with like, I mean, you've interviewed a bunch of people. You were there on your own. You set up the birch. So it's like, I'm going to say thank you.
And with Piebald twice. Yep.
Yeah. So that was the impetus to me. And I mean it. Like, it wasn't like false. It
No, I
was,
didn't.
it
It
was
was
true.
very,
Like,
I
I
mean,
mean
you
it.
just made my day again, you bastard. No, I don't know why. Why are dudes like that? You gotta
Right?
immediately like start talking shit. No, no, man,
Yeah.
that means the world to me. It truly does. And it's like even the DMs, like that means the world to me. If whether it's like someone who I'm already connected with on there, or if it's a random one, especially like again with like that thrice episode, I'm like, I don't even know if this is good. That one and the Jim Ward episode, I got so many random messages, probably more than like the average. I usually will get a couple at least, like
Yeah.
from like maybe some regular listeners and like every once in a while. Well, yeah, I've gotten a bunch of like randoms too. But yeah, it's like that it makes my day every time. And having that like booth, it's like I'm not selling anything.
Hmm.
I'm just I get the table mostly to just like wave the flag and like a lot of people, I'll put like coasters and stickers out there, just give it away. I give away a shirts and stuff, and like sometimes people will come by, they're like, free stuff, free coaster. What's this podcast? I don't give a fuck, but I want that coaster. I'm like, whatever,
Right.
take it. But like people like you will come up and just say all these really nice things, and it's like, man, and it is like the gas I need during a time like this when I haven't been able to get an episode out and I'm not in a good place as far as like momentum with the show. And so when people and I'm not I don't have the booth so people can come up to me and say
Right.
nice things.
Right.
It's just like a really wonderful thing that happens along with it. I'm mostly there so I can just like have a cooler full of beers and like and just a place to like a home base to post up, it's
Yeah,
that's the best
For
part. It's cool to
sure.
just have a little spot. But it does like kind of take over. Like I've missed sets many times because, sets that I really wanted to go see, or maybe like there's two or three bands playing all at the same time and I'm like I went into that day of the festival like these are the ones I'm gonna see, and then someone like you will come up and just start talking, and before I know, I just missed that set. But I'm
Right.
not even mad about it or upset about it because in that moment, that conversation meant so much to me. Where it's just like, wow, like I'm getting goosebumps right now. It's just like, wow, that's like just speaks to like the community and how powerful that the community itself, you know, like I mean we're all there for the music, right, first and foremost,
Hmm.
but
yeah,
then it's just
Mhm.
like this community that we've all built around it. You realize pretty quickly, I mean, just go to Furnace Fest the first hour, you're going to realize like, wow, this is just as powerful as the music itself, I think, especially with
Yeah,
that
100%.
festival, you know.
100%. Yeah,
definitely agree.
yeah. Because I mean, there was even people that I met, just hanging out in line for like food or whatever the first year I was there, and then the next year when I went back, just crossing paths, and they're like, "Hey, you made it back. Hey, good to see you."
Totally, dude, totally. um and I think, Jared, I think you and I are like-minded in that way, like you were talking about. For one, I'm not a musician.
Hey, Pieball, you're the cowbell player. Come on
Well,
now.
I mean, I
You
am
play
a
music on
percussionist.
stage.
I am a
You're
percussionist. I also play
Yeah, auxiliary
I
percussion.
also
That's
play the
right.
jingle bells when we do Christmas
Oh,
shows, and
Yep.
I always fuck it
Nice.
up.
multi-tool player. Yeah.
No, but aside from that, aside from that, I'm the same way as you. So like I'm not going to sit there and like talk about guitar tones. I don't know anything
Right.
about it. And there are plenty of podcasts that do that. But I'm going to stick to what I know, and I think if I don't know, what's that what's that phrase, like jack of all trades, master of none?
Yeah.
Is that
Hmm.
what it is?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like not even that. I'm not even a jack of all. I don't know any fucking trades, like I'm not I feel like I'm not like good at anything, but I am good at connecting with people, I think, maybe if anything, which is probably why like, I feel I don't know, I also have confidence issues, so I have a problem saying I'm a good podcast host, but I can say that, and
Hmm.
I'm, I don't bartend anymore, but I was really good at that. Or I am really good behind the merch table because I connect with people. That's what I know probably more than anything. So someone like you being like-minded, that makes sense that you would dig the conversations that I'm
Yeah.
having. But I'm sure there are also, other people that are like, wait, talk more about that guitar part that just came up for half a second. Why did you change the conversation? I wanted to hear more
Right.
about that. But this, that's what's cool about podcasts. I mean, literally just go into the little search field, type in anything. You're going to find a million different things for
Hmm.
every possible like topic, which is cool. But it's also like it does make it harder because my thing is like, especially where like that consistency thing I was talking about with like the new scene, or podcasts that have their shit together better than me, you know I know for sure, one thing I can confidently say is that there are way more people that I know would dig my show. They just don't know about it, you
Mhm.
know if that
Yeah.
makes sense. And that's
100%.
okay. Like I'm going to do it regardless. And just like you were also kind of saying how, you were kind of alluding to this, and I I think was like, even if nobody listened to this, I just got to talk to Max Bemis for an hour and a half.
Right.
And 20 years ago, I would be pinching myself to like have that
Right.
opportunity kind of thing. I've definitely had a few. I'm pretty good at it now, where I don't like fanboy out necessarily as much, but there are a few standouts I will say where I you could probably hear in my voice or definitely in my head during the chat. Like it's hard to block out sometimes, or
Mhm.
maybe like being a little nervous. I definitely like fanboyed out when I was talking to Max Bemis. Um, who else? You know who I was really nervous talking to? And I mean, I have been a massive fan forever, but they're really approachable and really cool. But for whatever reason, their presence just like I was just like really nervous. It was Krista Makes of Less Than Jake. I was like
Oh
really
yeah.
nervous talking to him. I also know that was a morning interview, which I'm better at night. So
Mm.
like maybe that was part of it. But I don't know. There's something about like just their presence. And he was another one that was like, it's like you got an hour and you got to respect that. And that's it. Matt Pryor
Right.
intimidates me sometimes. I've had him on
I can see
twice.
that.
That's a good example of like, I've interviewed him twice, both times, I hit end, I close out the Zoom. And sometimes I close that out and I know right away, like, anytime I talk to like Eric from Mom Jeans, I'm like, that's going to be an awesome episode. That was such a, like, sometimes I
Yeah.
know, but like other times it's like I don't know. I
Right.
like with Dustin from Thrice, I thought I bombed it. With Matt Pryor, both times I thought I bombed those interviews. And the editing helps because you can kind of
Hmm.
clean up like the long pauses and just like you know again not manipulate the conversations, but you can clean it up so that it flows better. But yeah, with Matt, he's like hard to read. It's just like
Hmm.
Yeah.
and so my current tour manager, um, shout out, I call him the Doctor, Doctor Matt Wilson. He's a tour manager and he does front of house sound for a bunch of bands and gets me most of my work. Poppy, the Front Bottoms, Bayside, Thrice. He's done Alkaline Trio and a bunch of other bands. And he also is, I don't know if he still is, but I think he is, but was Matt Pryor's like day to day manager
Oh,
for
wow.
his solo stuff. And so
Mm.
even though I had already connected with Matt Pryor the first time, when I got him on the second time, I just hit up my dude, the doctor,
Yeah.
Wilson. I was
Yeah.
just like, yo, because he had the book coming out. So I was just like, yo,
Mm.
Right.
uh, actually, maybe he approached me because he had discovered my podcast or whatever it was. It's just like, oh yeah, let's set this up, and the reason I bring all that up is once again, I talked to him and I'm just like, oh man, like this dude does not want to talk to me right now. And like he hit me up after talking to Matt. He's like, Matt Pryor loves you. He was just like that dude. He's like, man, that guy Dana is like a lot of fun, huh? He's a blast. And I'm just like, wow. Like I never would have thought that. I really thought that he just like, he's just hard to read,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I would agree with that. He played a barber shop on his like the solo like book tour out here. Afterwards, I went up and was just talking to him for a little bit. Probably maybe like 5, 10 minutes or so, and then I was just kind of like, all right, well, I can't quite tell how this is going. And like as I'm starting to walk away, he's like, "Hey, I like your Mystery Science Theater tattoos."
oh, that's cool.
I was like, "Oh, all right." Start showing him the
Yeah.
tattoos and talked about that a little bit more, and I was like, "All right, I'm gonna let you go."
That's rad. But up until that point, you're like, big gulps, huh?
Oh yeah.
Well, see
Well,
you later.
I wonder for you because I mean, you've interviewed a ton of people. We've just had a handful on, but a little bit of the feedback we've gotten because we don't have a format of like a traditional interview of like we want to ask this question, this question, this question. And our internal conversation is like we don't want to ask them something they've been asked a million times that they have a pat answer and they're bored because
Yeah.
we're not going to ask them how they got started, that sort of thing of like these artists that have been around for 30 years, 20 years. So we just chat with them and the feedback we've gotten is, oh, that was fun because I think maybe artists are expecting a traditional boring interview where someone's trying to like check their boxes to get that info they want versus a conversation where it's like, no, I'm actually interested in you, the person, not just the maker of whatever it is we like, but like, I want to know a little bit about you individually. And is that because I think that's how your podcast comes off of it's more of that
Yeah,
kind of natural conversation. Like, let's talk as people. You happen to be an artist that makes things, stuff we like, and that's why we're talking.
totally.
But that's not the driving force of the back and forth.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Is like, not like a press row interview of like a radio station appearance or whatever, which I think particularly for those seasoned vets that have been doing it when that was a thing, like the circuit, maybe more than it is
Yeah.
now. Like that there's I imagine they go into autopilot
Yeah,
when
I
they
mean, when they've been asked this same, standard questions that they've answered thousands of times, over the last
yeah.
20, 30 years or something like that. I mean, I always have I don't know, maybe I'm answering something you didn't ask, but are you asking kind of like how I structure it and if I because I always have notes
Yeah.
and oftentimes I don't look at them at all. Oftentimes I look at them like I just peek over. The thing is like just it's just for my brain. Like I even have a notebook here next to me right now. So like I'll write their name at the top. I'll write the band and like what they do, even though I know who Matt Pryor is and what he does. It's
Right.
just like being organized. And I always write intro, which could mean anything, right? But I don't know. That's just how my brain works. Like that's the first thing I'll write, and then at the very bottom of the page, I always write, plugs, just to like
Yeah.
remind myself, like, and if it's something like with Matt Pryor in this example, like I knew he had the book coming out, obviously, so it's like plugs, new book, or like living room tour or whatever it might be.
Hmm.
So, and then in between, I do have like there are some questions that I always ask. All right, so for the first, I don't know, first at least few dozen episodes, I haven't asked this in a long time, but I would always ask at the very end, like, what advice would you give to someone like up and coming in the scene trying to
Hmm.
start something? And those were some, I feel like that is kind of a standard question because I've noticed that like a lot of people they're like, oh, whenever I answer this, I'm like, oh, I don't want to be that guy that asks the same thing, but
Right.
also I feel like that's a good one because like there's some like really good like content that like wholesome content that comes out of it. It was always a cool way to close out the episode. What did I change that to? I asked something else at the end now. I don't even know. Somewhere along the way, I started like I always try to ask now, like I'm like, in the spirit of 2 week notice, because because this didn't start as a as a music interview, and if you pull
Right.
it up, you would have no idea. So
Hmm.
maybe I kind of fucked up in that way, but I was in it deep enough where I'm like, I'm not gonna change it. It is what it is.
Can relate.
But it was ultimately me like leaving the corporate world and
Yep.
to travel and tour with bands. So somewhere along the way during these when I was doing these interviews, I try to now like last couple of years I've tried to always ask like, all right, I should at least tie the theme of the show in here somehow. So I'll be like, in the spirit of 2 week notice, like what jobs have you had in the past that aren't music related, and like what do you think you would be doing in another life if you weren't like a musician for a career?
Right.
And both of those questions I always ask, and they people always seem they're like, oh boy, like some of the good conversation comes out of that when people start talking about like times they got fired and stuff like that. So that's always a fun one. Um, there I would say in the beginning more so I would do the standard. I used to literally say, all right, so I do just a standard timeline. Like I would say that on the air. And one of my buddies who like always listens to every episode, he hit me up. He was like, dude, stop saying that you do a standard timeline. It's like it kind of you don't have to say that. It kind of like you're selling yourself short here. Like, just don't say that. I was like, oh
Right.
yeah, he's right. But I probably said it the first, I don't know, probably fucking 12 to 20 interviews. Um, and that was back when I wasn't editing as thoroughly. So, uh, yeah, so I can't even listen to those ones now. When people tell me they're like, oh, dude, like, maybe they just discovered the show through the Thrice one or something. He's like, I'm gonna go back and like listen to like the old ones, and I'm like, oh God, like because I feel like I wasn't good back then, but you know, here's an example of so when I interviewed Ace Enders of the early November, we had a whole plan because they were just about to go on tour and play their record, "The Room's Too Cold." It was like a 20-year anniversary thing, and we both went into the episode with the intention, and I had like 2 3 pages of notes to do a deep dive on that record, and we we went like an hour without talking about it at all. And then at the end, I was like, all right, dude, like, do you have more time? Because we should talk about the record a little bit. And we did. But in that moment, I remember consciously being like, this is one of the best conversations I've ever had,
Mm.
podcasts or not. We just had this awesome, like, heart to heart, like, kind of a deep ish talk. And I remember consciously being like, I'm bailing on my notes. I don't give a fuck about the record. This is just an awesome talk right now. So that happens a lot, especially more, the more I do it, you're not even thinking about like, oh, there's a microphone in front of me and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
I think I know when I'm listening, especially if it's an artist I'm interested in, where I'll listen if I see a podcast interview with them, where I'll listen to like multiple interviews on multiple podcasts because like I really like this artist.
yeah,
What
yeah,
I'm
I do
always
that.
hoping for is like something I don't already know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
If it's their standard stories that get out there that like every decent level fan of that band or that person is aware of, then you're like, okay, I heard this story, and that happens, right, where you hear it like told more than once in this almost the same
Hmm.
way on multiple podcasts. And you're like,
Yep.
you're a fan, so you still listen through it because you're like, okay,
Yep.
this is cool. But it's more exciting to find a new nugget. You're like, oh, I never heard that before, which I
Totally.
think is where it goes when, yeah, like you let it go. And if
Yep.
they take you
Yeah.
someplace, you're like, okay, we were here to talk about the album, but now this is a lot more interesting and someone else can look into the album or there's facts about the album, but no one's ever talked about this with this person or they've never shared this publicly. Those are the best. When you
Right.
feel like
Right.
you got a new
Hmm.
insight or some new knowledge or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the episode we did with Jeff Fortson from Squad 50 was a blast. I mean, it was
Yeah, we talked about all kinds of crap.
wild.
Yeah. Going back, I keep using this example because it's like more recent, but going back to the Dustin from Thrice episode, that was one where I hadn't really listened to any Dustin interviews in the past. So I did like start off with that kind of like, oh, how did Thrice start kind of thing.
Mhm.
And sometimes you go through that, but if I do these days, it's kind of just like, all right, let's just blast through this maybe, like maybe a
Right.
sped up version or maybe just like maybe I haven't found the flow yet between with the chemistry between me and that
Mhm.
person. With Dustin from Thrice, that was like I said, I thought I bombed it for sure, and that was one where I got a bunch of messages from people, a few different like random, message. It's in my message requests. I'm not already connected with this person. Like one of them was like Thrice fan page, whatever account, and he was just like, I've listened to every single podcast Dustin has ever done, and I loved yours the most because there was stuff I've never heard him talk about before.
That's perfect.
Nice.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean that's the best compliment you can get, right? That was really cool.
And having listened to him on a number of podcasts, I can see how because his style is he takes his time.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, dude.
He's
Yeah,
fine with silence. He's not in a
yeah,
hurry, and he's not going to use a lot of words. So yeah, when
yeah,
you listen to him, even on his podcast that he hosts, his style, he's different as a person. But I think I
yeah.
had listened to his. So when I listened to yours, I had listened to his podcast that he hosts. It was like, oh, that's how he talks. Like that's him. Like he's
Yes.
deliberate.
Yep.
He is economic. He doesn't waste words.
Total. No, you hit. Yep.
He doesn't seem pressured to fill space. And so it's like, but I can imagine being on the other end of that of like, oh, like how is this going?
Oh my
Because
God,
Yeah.
it's
he
fucking
doesn't
brutal.
at least audibly, he doesn't give a lot of emotion when he's
Yeah,
talking, and anything I've ever heard of him. So I can imagine in a conversation that being like, "Oh, does he hate me?
dude.
Does he hate this? Does
Yeah.
he hate me? Does he not want to be here right now?"
I know. And then you juxtapose that with, like how we talk up here. Like we talk kind of fast, up in, New England.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Right.
especially in the
Yep.
winter because it's cold. You want to get the fuck inside where it's warm.
Yep.
That is so true.
That's the reason. Yeah.
No, you hit the nail on the head, man, and that's when you resort to the notes. Like you guys are really easy to talk to. A lot of people are. And you just can go off on any tangent, right? But
Right.
yeah, with like a Dustin situation, it was like, all right, next, like there was no like flow at first, so it's just like I had to like that was when I leaned on those notes.
Mhm.
And I did have a lot of particular questions about the lyrics with the solo record and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and that ended up leading to like the best part, I think, of the talk. He started opening up about like his
Grandfather or
family,
grandparents,
yeah, his
right? And stuff.
grandparents, yeah.
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
such a
Hmm.
cool.
That was a really
Yeah.
cool part.
We went down like a
Mhm.
Hoover Dam rabbit hole, I
Yeah, that's
remember,
right.
and it was like really, yeah, that was when. But even then, like you said, he's very precise and calculated with his words. He's just brilliant. Like me, I'm just
Yeah.
like blah blah. I just fucking run my yap, and maybe you can find a couple half intelligent things in there, right? But like with Dustin, he's very like selective, and just more patient, and
Mhm.
like what I had to keep reminding myself was just like he's just introverted. you know
Yeah.
he's not gonna be just blah 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 like me. Like everyone's different, and and that particular getting him was like through the doctor. So it wasn't like, I mean, I toured with them for like it was like part of a tour, and I like hung out on the bus a couple times quickly, but I didn't talk to those guys, the Thrice guys. They're all like real one of the most chill, just they're all just really cool and really chill, just
Right.
hanging out, like good energy. But like when I'm touring with like a bass who I've toured with multiple times, or the Front Bottoms who I toured with for a year, or Piebald, I'm in the van with them, like those are like friends. But those guys I didn't get to know that well, and I wasn't like, hey Dustin, like it wasn't just like come on my podcast. It was like I hit up my tour manager like, yo, can you help me get him? And that was it. So like I didn't even like know him really at all, aside from just like working for him for a couple of weeks, um
Right.
where we didn't interact much. So you know that's part of it too. Like when you get someone who you already know, it's pretty, like if someone comes on, well, I guess except for Matt Pryor, I was still like, this dude, this dude's tough. But like, you know, when you get someone like a second time, or just someone who, it's just it flows more naturally. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Ace Enders was the opposite. When I had him, I always like, and he admittedly, like his personality by nature, he's very like shy, introverted dude. And that was why I was like, for some reason, I was like intimidated going into it with him. And I thought it was going to be like awkward. And that was part of the reason why I wanted to do the deep dive on the record. I'm like, well, we'll have all sorts of stuff to talk about, and this is probably where he's comfortable, like just speaking about his art. Like that will probably make him comfortable. It's a 20-year reunion, so I was just like, this would be a perfect thing to like to just kind of like just focus on, and it'll be easy. And then like he opened up so quickly, and just it got deep, and it was just like, oh wow, I didn't expect it at all, because I
Mm.
had sold merch for them once, but we just kind of shook hands like, hey dude, like nice to
Sure.
meet you kind of thing. But I didn't expect that at all, which is always that's always cool when that happens.
It is. That's awesome.
Yeah, I feel like we're talking about podcasting a lot.
Hey, that's fine.
It's a podcast about podcasts. It's very meta. Yeah.
You're right.
You want to
You're
play a
right.
game though, and
I
to
love
switch
games.
gears?
Yeah, I would love to.
So we play a game every episode with our guest, and it sometimes it's hard, sometimes it's not. We have a lot of fun. Hopefully, you will too. So we try to match it up with a little bit about our guests. So, being that you are the multi-talented auxiliary instrumentalist in Piebald, What we thought would be fun, so we like to put the guest on the spot a little bit too, is if you selected a band and an instrument that you would assign to each of the three of us to be an auxiliary player in, based on what you've gotten out of these interactions. So you go way back with Kevin now, we've learned tonight. You and I have connected a little bit. Adam, I don't know, is this tonight
You
number
don't know
one?
me at all. Yeah.
Adam's so
Well,
the other thing, go
I
ahead.
feel like Adam, I don't know. I've seen you around. Have we never spoke before?
I don't know.
Because
Maybe, maybe not.
you go to Furnace Fest, right?
Yeah, I've gone every year but 22.
Okay, because
But
I feel
yeah,
like I've seen you around the festival grounds, or maybe like on Facebook, or
I've been
sometimes
around.
those things all blend together. The social media world in real life. Sometimes you meet someone in person for the first time, and I do this more often, like at the merch table. I'm like, have we met in person before?
Oh, you might know one
You
of
know what I
my
mean?
friends that I went to high school with, Kelly Yao, Kelly Nialza on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's
Yeah,
she's
I went to
great.
high school with her. So
Oh, okay. North
yeah.
Carolina, yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
Charlotte area.
she's a Piebald fan, big time.
Big time.
And
Yeah.
Furnace Fest 21, like the next day after our set, we played a show with Thursday at the Blind Tiger. She was there.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, she said hi. I was texting with her earlier today.
Tell her
But
I
yeah.
said what up.
But yeah, we
But
went to high school together. So I mean, you may have seen me around her at the festival. Maybe I don't know. Who knows?
I know I've seen your face. It's good to see your
Yep.
face now. But
Yes,
Jared, I'm
officially.
sorry. Jared, we
No, yeah,
totally
you're
did.
so you've got the
But
information
yeah.
you've
All right.
got.
So
And
Adam's on
then
drums.
well wait,
Well,
we gotta
you
add one
nailed
thing.
that.
Yeah.
Well, so he's a drummer in multiple
Yeah.
bands.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
you figured that out.
I cut you off though. Was that like just a sign, like what you would play in a band, in the band?
No, we're gonna make it more challenging. So we want it to be
Yeah.
like your role in Piebald as an auxiliary player of a unique instrument that may not be the heartbeat of each and every song. Do you know what I'm saying? So you make your
Mm.
appearance, you make your contribution, you put your stamp on the band and the performance. And to make this easier, because we do different versions with the people we have on, and we often have they have limited knowledge of us. To make it more fair and more fun, you can ask one question of each of us, whatever it is that makes it work for you. That tells you a little bit more to inform this selection. So it's two parts. Pick the band that we would be a member of, akin to your participation in Piebald, and then the role we would play. That is like yours. So the Dana fucking B. You're putting us you're just like typing us on like in the mold, in the vein, in the legacy of Dana fucking B. We're trying to
Yeah.
follow in your footsteps. Pick a band and the unique contribution we would make to that band.
Oh, geez.
Is fair?
It is, but what's the game part? Like, do you already have like answers in your mind that I'm supposed to like?
No, the game is just us hearing your choices. It's fun.
Oh, okay.
We want to see how your mind works. Yeah. So you've already won, just
I
in
thought-
case you're worried about
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
This is it's a positive podcast.
We're all
winners here.
winners. Yeah.
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 What was that, Seinfeld, when they were watching the marathon? You're all winners.
Exactly.
No, well, real quick, because I thought you were gonna ask, like, all right, if we were in a band, who would have what role? And I was gonna
Yeah.
say Adam drums, Kevin lead guitar, Jared frontman. That's where I was going with that. But to make
like
it
it.
like obscure, well, first I would have to think like what auxiliary, roles there are, right? You got
Yes,
so you got like cowbell player, you got what, keys? Does that count? That counts, right?
for sure.
I got an instrument. Hold on.
Well,
You got
like what the Boston
Whoa.
said, the dancing guy. You could have I mean,
A didgeridoo. See, that's a
oh.
good example. A
no
didgeridoo.
didgeridoo. Wow, yeah.
But what band would you put him in too? Playing the
Oh
didgeridoo,
God.
Judd? Would it be Judd?
Yeah.
They're right
I
there.
don't even
Be a
know.
good fit.
Speed. You can play next to the flute.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
And it's Australian.
I'm jealous already. I'm jealous. Yeah.
Hmm.
So all right, so auxiliary, roles, you got cowbell, you got the triangle, you got the didgeridoo, you got keys, you have what, bongos,
Oh yeah.
Maracas?
you got brass, right? You got
Could
like
just be the shaker
sax,
egg guy, like just out there.
shakers,
Yeah.
tambourine, a lot of
Yeah.
percussion.
Kazoo.
Oh yeah.
You got a lot of brass, right? Like horn section.
Mm,
Um, what else? Yeah, you have like the what's his name? The the hype man, dancing guy from the Bosstones.
exactly.
What are
Hmm.
we missing here? I just want to make sure.
Harmonica?
Harmonica. I
Harmonica.
like
Oh.
that.
Okay. Yep. Yep. Um, yeah, you have wind instruments, right?
Hmm.
Harmonica and like
What about like Maylene? They have the banjo that they pull out there, so like it's not in every song, but the banjo shows up.
right,
You
right.
know,
Well, banjo, is
nice.
that it? Yeah, I guess that counts.
It depends
Okay.
on the band and how you insert it, right? Is it
Yeah, I don't.
all the time or is it a one-off?
This could get complicated, you know.
Or what about
Yeah.
like kegs for Slipknot? Oh, Living
Like a beer
Sacrifice
keg?
used to
Like,
have like, yeah, like tire rims and stuff.
Slipknot has a dude playing on like
Yeah, like
beer
big
kegs.
metal kegs and
I didn't know that.
yeah,
That's cool.
yeah.
I've never seen Slipknot. I bet that's a sick show.
Oh, White Collar Sideshow. The guy played the saw.
Mm,
What?
Yeah,
that'd be
there's a
cool.
band, White Collar Sideshow, and dude would like have a saw, and he would like bend it and like hit it with the drumsticks, and like kind
and
of
like
make
wham,
all
wham,
sorts
wham,
of
wham, like make weird sounds out
yeah.
of it. Okay.
That's cool. I could see that. What else? I want to make sure this like I'm thinking of every option before I, assign you some roles here. What are we
Hmm.
missing? Is there anything else? There's got to be more.
I mean, it's really unlimited.
Well, aside from like the obscure, like the saw or the keg,
Yeah.
Right.
like didgeridoo, that's one I would not have thought of unless you busted that thing out. That's pretty cool.
I mean, just it's right around the corner.
Keep
Yeah.
that thing on you. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, now I
Yeah.
feel like I have to assign you the didgeridoo
I
because you
mean, it's
have
right
one.
here. I'm ready to go. I'm ready for
You
a
putting him
gig.
in speed? That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
It does, right? Oh, so you guys in different bands?
Yeah, yeah. You're gonna put each of us in a band playing an
Okay.
auxiliary instrument. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so all right, yeah, Adam, didgeridoo and speed. I mean, you can
Oh,
play
such a good
with
band.
well and again,
So
that's an
cool.
Australian instrument, right? Isn't that
Right.
Hmm.
doesn't
Yeah.
Yeah.
and those guys are from Australia, so that's like
Perfect.
it's
Wow.
and you literally just busted the thing out. So
Right there. Yeah.
that's meant to be. You're in speed.
Okay.
Good for you.
All
Congratulations.
right. All right. All right.
I'm happy with this gig.
Let's see. Kevin. Kevin. I could see you ripping a banjo, brother.
Okay.
I could see that. Because I had you on lead guitar, in like the other band that I formed with you guys.
Hmm.
But what band would you be in? Maybe like Manchester Orchestra?
Okay.
Oh.
I don't know. Does that sound crazy? Does
Mm-mm.
that sound crazy?
Kevin's a good fit for
No.
that.
I don't know. I don't even know why that just popped in my head. But that's your new role.
There you go.
You're the wizard here. You sort us in the hat and whatever. Yeah.
Jared. Jared. I think you got a good radio voice.
Okay.
And you have like leadership frontman vibes. So I'm trying to think like I could see you with like a tambourine. Maybe you mix it up. Maybe you got a tambourine sometimes. Maybe you got the shakers sometimes. And you're also does like throwing in vocals count?
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you sing?
Does it have to be good?
You do now.
Hmm. That's risky. That's risky.
And all right, then we'll have you scream, and you're gonna be in
Yeah.
like a hardcore band,
Perfect.
and
Which one?
you are gonna be in playing the tambourines. Well, maybe not tambourine hardcore. Jeez, this is tough.
It's gonna be tougher. It might have to be the shaker.
Shaker, yeah, yeah. First thing that comes to mind, really strictly because I said like hardcore and because of your location, I thought Beloved.
Ooh.
I will happily take a role in Beloved. Yes.
All right, there you go.
I love it.
There you
I
go.
like it.
I love
Yeah.
it. Let Joe know right away.
Joe Mustin. He
Yeah.
was actually one of the earlier podcast interviews I did.
Was he? I don't think I've listened to that one with you.
I don't know if that one is because I went through this moment where I didn't even realize, I don't know how long it had gone on, but like Spotify.
When they took all your stuff down?
Yes.
I
So there's,
remember that.
but for those who don't know, like there's Spotify and then there's Spotify for podcasters, which is two
Hmm.
completely separate things. Spotify for podcasters is like a distribution platform. It used to be called Anchor and it had nothing to
Yes.
do with Spotify. And
Oh,
it was like that was when I started my podcast. It started as like a travel log when I was in Europe, and it was an app that you downloaded, and it
yeah.
was
I've listened
free.
to a
I think it's
podcast on Anchor before, back in the day.
think it's still free. Yeah, but they would still distribute like if they would put me on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and stuff. But like I just did it because it was on my phone and it was free. And my buddy was like, I was just going to Europe for a few months, and my buddy was like, "Yo, you should do a podcast while you're over there and just do like a virtual like log, like like a
Yeah.
travel log. That'd be a cool way to like keep up with me and like some of the other homies while you're out there." And that was if he didn't like suggest that, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. And but eventually, like after a couple of years, Spotify bought Anchor,
Hmm.
and now it's Spotify for podcasters. But a lot of
Interesting.
people don't know. Like, so when I say Spotify, they might think I'm talking about where you go and listen to podcasts, but it's not that.
Right.
So I went through that moment where it was, Spotify was taking over Anchor, and for whatever, I play songs. I always get permission from, I'll be like, is it cool if I play like, Boys Night Out songs, Connor? And I'll be like, yeah, sure, please do. And then whatever, it triggered something, and a bunch of my episodes got taken down, and it was like this whole thing, and I was like really, really devastated by it because it's just like this is like my whole life. Like this is my, you know, this thing means more to me than any other piece of work I've ever done. I was really crushed. And then I found a way around it. All you had to do, it was actually, there's this dude, Jed, he's from the Furnace Fest community. He has a podcast.
Okay.
Cool dude. He's from Louisiana. Like he knows like the Capra camp,
I
and
might have listened to that. I listened to somebody from Louisiana's podcast.
it might have been his. He's a
It was
cool
like a
cat.
crossover with somebody. Yeah, okay.
I think it's church something or
Yeah, yeah, I've listened to that. Somebody they did a crossover with some other podcast I listened to, and that's where I became aware of it. Church and Other Drugs.
that's the one. Church and Other Drugs. Thank you. Shout out Jed. Really cool cat. And yeah, so he's because I was posting about it, and he like I didn't know what to do. You can't fucking call Spotify. He had been through the same thing or knew someone through who went through the same thing, and all it took, and well, secret's gonna get out there, but uh,
It's
yeah,
up to you if you
all,
say timeout. It's Kevin's choice now.
no,
Right.
no, you can't even get anybody on the phone. They're not gonna, you know what I mean? They're not gonna listen to
They're
this.
not listening
But
to us. Don't worry. This is
all you
just
had
us
to do,
four.
that's okay. This is fun. All you had to do is go into like the the show notes and just update them. Like you literally just add a space to the end, and then just hit like save, and it just like Kurt Ballou got taken down, and I did that, and I tried it with him. Boom, episode's
Wow.
back up, and I did
Huh.
that with I don't know, like I don't even check. So maybe there's some that is still taken down or have been taken down since. But so I just went through and did that, and it put them all back up
That's
like it
awesome.
never happened. And it was like a band-aid because I'm like, well, they're gonna like circle back around and flag me again and start taking these down. But more recently, Travis from Piebald wrote that rad jingle for me, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still use like the band's music sometimes because that's my favorite part of editing is adding the music and just like listening to like how it goes from maybe the intro to the music because I'm picking a song that I love and a part of a
Yep.
song that I love, and then just like putting a little fade on it, and then just for whatever reason, like that's the most stoked that I get when I listen back to any episode is like that that piece of it is just hearing to me. I don't know why, because
It's
it has
awesome.
nothing to do with the actual conversation, but I don't know. I just love that part. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. Like that's one of my favorite parts too, is like picking out, okay, what song is going to go as the outro on
Yeah,
this. And I change it up every episode and then usually throw like a little clip from at some point during the recording that I had pulled out to just slap at the end, like over the credit. So, it's totally out of context, but just, a fun little part to throw on at the end that didn't necessarily fit at the time, but
Yeah,
too enjoyable to us on the show to really get rid of. So I just throw it at the end.
I love that. Something that's like funny,
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe only funny to you, but whatever. You have the
exactly.
power of editing, so you can do what you want.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
did that because I always do that. Come on, like on
Yeah.
the, and I had like at the end of like a bunch of the episodes was my like at the time he was like three.
Hmm.
Like my little nephew was like going like come on. So I would put that at the end. So yeah, that stuff's fun.
Yeah, you're that because of that. I say that all the time to myself. I'm always like, "Come on," like in day to day life because of that.
I love that.
Yeah,
2 hours later.
Yes, this is I don't even know what time it is, but
yeah. I don't
It's
either.
like
probably
it's like
a
1:30.
long. It's like
Okay.
it's like a 5 hour podcast. Good luck, Kevin.
So I want to plug your new podcast. Like you were generous. You let me listen to a couple of like the first two. It's really good.
Thank you.
Like people in this scene are gonna like it. What you guys are doing is awesome. Like you've put it together really well. It's a very entertaining listen. It's quicker than listening to a Pickle Home Companion, so it's the lesser commitment. Uh, but it's fantastic. I loved it. I think you guys are crushing it, knocking it out of the park.
Thank you, brother. It means a lot. Yeah, it's called Live Free or DIY, and I think by the time this episode is out, that show should be launched. So type it in. We'll have Instagram or type Live Free or DIY, and the photo, the artwork that is still in progress. It's actually an old black and white photo of Aaron Stewart, like pointing at the crowd with like I don't know. It's like the fact that it's black and white and that it was taken from a photographer that we're still connected with was taken back in the 90s. It's like I was like, dude, how much would it cost to like use this? He was like, dude, I would love for you to use it. I'm not going to charge you, like whatever you need. So it's cool. And like the black and white factor, it's almost like it's like an old flyer, like an old
Yeah.
DIY show flyer. So Live Free or DIY. Again, I'll just go over some of the panel members. It's not just me running my yap. Uh, we got Professor Andrew Mall, Northeastern University music professor. We got Norm Brandon, Texas is the Reason, and Thursday. Ace Enders of the early November, Joey Sharamonte of Koyo. We have Chris Wren of Bridge 9 Records, Chad and Johnny of Furnace Fest. So that's Luke Arrow of Piebald, my guy. How could I forget? So yeah, it's been a lot of work, and I'm very proud of how it's coming out. And I also cannot wait to be fucking done with it because it's taken up all my time. And then, of course, my baby, my number one passion project would be the 2 Week Notice podcast that I've probably talked about more than enough already, but check it out. 2 Week Notice podcast. Follow me on Instagram. I don't know. Do you have any favorite episodes? Like I've had Dustin from Thrice, Matt Pryor. I've mentioned a few of them. Are there any?
Oh gosh,
I've had
I've
Chris
listened.
Caraba. I've had Max Bemis. I've had Travis Stever of Coheed and LS Dunes. Who am I? Cyrus from Newfound Glory.
Oh, the Unearth one was pretty sweet.
Oh,
Hmm.
It
favorite
was.
guest, Buzz from Unearth. He's been on 4 times. He usually like we're a little overdue. He usually hops on once a year. I mean, that's another one where if you hate Unearth's music, it doesn't even matter. Buzz is just so funny.
It's a great listen.
He's out of his mind. He's the best.
Walter Schreifels.
Yep, Walter
I think that
another
was a good one, and Vinny.
Vinny
Correct.
Caruana has been on a
Yeah,
couple times. Brian Sella of the Front Bottoms, Tades from Hot Mulligan. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
those Hot Mulligan ones were
they
great.
were.
thank you so much. Yeah, that's another one. Like you don't have to like Hot Mulligan, but that's a great conversation either way. So yeah, those are my plugs. Thank you for the platform and for the fun conversation. I can't believe it's been 5 hours. That's awesome.
I know.
Is that right? 5 hours, 4 hours? What is that?
I think you're right at five.
I think it's
Yeah.
about five.
And
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it for him, Adam. Like his band, you guys are playing Saturday. Well, it'll come out after the fact, but he's got a band, Wantlands,
Yeah.
like a shoegazy band, right?
I've had a 6-year hiatus from playing shows. Yeah, we're saying Southern shoegaze, but I don't
There
know
we
what it
go.
is.
That's rad.
But I've taken a 6-year hiatus from playing shows, and I've got my first show back this coming Saturday in Raleigh. So
Wow. So you play drums?
drums, yeah.
Joe, you gonna bring the didgeridoo?
Yeah, totally.
Do it.
Yeah.
Can you play that well? That thing's like it takes a lot of like
I was
muscles, right?
better at it a couple years ago. I am out of practice currently. So it
I went
takes
to
a lot
s-
of breath.
I went to summer camp with this kid who he was just always playing the fucking didgeridoo. It was awesome.
Excellent breath control that kid had, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
And you guys are what is it? Wantlands NC on Instagram?
Yeah, I think so. Yep.
There we go.
Wantlands NC on Instagram.
Yeah.
And first show of, I'm sure, many starting back. So
Yes.
Awesome. Shout out Furnace Fest, right?
Always.
Yes.
Sloss Furnaces.
Yeah. The best festival out there.
Everyone's going? All you guys? All three of you?
We are.
yep.
Nice.
It's
Mhm.
gonna be a good time in October.
We'll have to hang out.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
All right, that's the news from Lake Scabagon, where all the podcast editing is perfect, all the festivals are electric, and all the cowbell players are above average. Onward, pickle soldiers! Another perfect podcast. That's all we do. Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Knocked the breath right out of me. But I forgot about my breathing. When you stepped out into the street, you called me a dick. But you could have called me anything. 'Cause I saw that little smile you tried.
All right, so that was a really fun conversation with Dana. He was not joking when he said that we had been going for about 5 hours. We actually, even after we stopped recording, we still hung out and talked for probably about another hour or so. So obviously, we cut a lot out of this episode. Some of those stories we will definitely get out to you guys down the road. Definitely go check out 2 Week Notice as well as Live Free or D.I.Y. If you happen to be at a show and you see him, go over and say hi. And stay tuned down the road for stories of him being on the road and Furnace Fest and all sorts of other nonsense. All right, we'll catch you guys later.
My favorite lamp, you said you hate all of my friends and you hate me too. You think I'm cheap, and you're probably right, I'm kinda cheap. But I just can't afford expensive girls like you. And even though you think the last few months was such a waste of time, I look at old pictures and remember you were once mine. Can't help but think that after all the things that I've done wrong, maybe I did something right.